Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Ashmadacharya Paryantam Bande Guru Paramparam Isvaro Gurate Meti Murti Beda Vibhagene Vyoma Vada Vyapata Dehaya Dakshinamurtiya Namaha Sarva Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharanta Nagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satsiguru Bhamatvasya Toshmaham Om Shanti Brahmji Shankaracharya. Verse 98. The infallible words of the scripture say the self is unborn and not conditioned by time. If that is true, how can action in its results affect it? So if it's not bound by time, it was never even born, how can it get confused and feel as if it has to deal with results of past karmas and the whole trouble? So how is it possible? Because that which was not born cannot suffer anything in this dualistic world of apparent objects that have the beginning, middle, and an end. That which is born formerly did not exist. So if anything that's born has to be non-existent first, and then it's born. So our human body appears as non-existent at a certain point, and then it is born, and then it goes, apparently it goes out of existence. It runs out of existence as an appearance. Yeah? But how can consciousness, awareness, existence come out of something else? So the only possible explanation would be, it's coming out of non-existence. But how can consciousness and existence come out of non-existence if we already have established that there is no such a thing as non-existence? Because established non-existence implies an existing principle, so that assertion can be determined, right? That which is born formerly did not exist. Its birth is its coming into being. Yeah? Like objects, they come into being, they are maintained, and then they are disassembled. Yeah? They are broken down again into the elements. The self, which is the scripture describes as limitless existence, knowledge, could not have been born, because that would require that it did not exist prior to its birth. You see how free we are? We have never not existed. We are never not present. We are always ever present, existing. We are never born. Born. Can existence not exist? And if such a thing were possible, from what would existence take birth from? Nothing comes from nothing. We all know that in the world of phenomenal objects, everything is a product of its cause. It's cause and effect. Things are being born out of those fundamental laws of meteor. So how can consciousness be born coming from something other than itself? We know that nothing comes from nothing. So existence we would say it's coming out of itself, but if it's coming out of itself, it's not really coming out because it's all the time there. right? It's not like Mithya that comes out of the macrocosmic causal body again and again. It disappears into potential and then it comes out again. But conscious existence does not have that problem because it's one without a second, and it does not modify to any circumstance. It's always ever the same and not subject to time, as we know. So existence cannot come from any other existence. That would imply parallel levels of existence, which drive us mad to imagine that one existence is boring existence to another existence, another existence, another existence, another existence. And then consciousness goes like, oh, there is no end to the search of consciousness, because it goes ad infinitum, there is always a certain level of conscious existence. If such were possible, from what would existence take birth? Nothing comes from nothing. We said previously that which does not exist in the beginning and cease to exist in the end cannot exist in the middle. That is the way we can negate Mithya. It did not exist in the beginning. It's not going to exist in the end. Appears to exist in the middle. Is it something we could call reality? No, reality is that which is always, ever available, present, existing. Reality is that's what exists all the time. All names and forms in Mithya, they have a temporary sort of apparent existence. They come and go. We said previously that which does not exist in the beginning and cease to exist in the end cannot exist in the middle. Everything that is born falls into this category and is apparent existence. And its apparent existence requires an impossibility. The reality of non-being from which it must be born and into which it must appear. You see, even this world of objects, this projection of Maya, still it's born out of the body of Ishvara, the spider, and its web. But how it comes into existence, even the creation itself, if we say that it's real, it exists, it was created somehow, it brings us into a huge problem. Where it was born from. So where we got all the raw material and everything it came from into being, this universe. And nothing comes from nothing. It has to come from something else. Therefore, we need a cause for that. Let's forget about Maya. Suppose that the universe is real. Okay, Maya is the way to prove that the universe is not real. But if we remove Maya, the teachings about Maya, and then we say the word is real. Okay, it keeps changing, but it has its reality. And then we say, no, it's eternal, it has always been the universe. Now the scientists, they start to understand that the universe also runs out of gas, steam, and then it goes out of existence. Everything here is time-bound. But if we would say, no, this is really stable, this universe exists forever, where it came from? What is the cause? Where we got all the elements and the energy, all the raw material, the project of the universe and so on. We would have to find the source of this universe. We would have to say, okay, it came from a different cause which was a parallel universe. Therefore, the only way to understand this universe is by understanding Maya and knowing that this is not real. It's just an appearance. It's a superimposition on consciousness. Same way we superimpose the snake in the robe. That's the only logical explanation. Can existence not exist? If such were possible, from what would existence take birth? Nothing comes from nothing. We said previously that which does not exist in the beginning ceases to exist in the end, cannot exist in the middle. Everything that's born falls into this category, its apparent existence. The universe of names and forms, okay? That is mithya. Everything in mithya requires an impossibility, the reality of non-being from which it must be born and into which must disappear. But we have already established that there is no such thing as non-being or non-existence. If this universe is real, and if it comes into being, it can only come from not being. But we have already established that non-existence is not possible. Those are all logic conclusions to prove to us that mithya is not really real, it's just an appearance. Not only is the self unborn, but everything is unborn. That is a nice also logic, because we say that the self is beginningless, eternal, never born. And then we also give that kind of title to Maya. We say Maya is beginningless, never born, because it's a good friend of awareness. Maya, they are like that. And say, okay, I'm unborn, you're unborn, we are both eternal. But how about the elements? The three energy, the elements, and the entire project. And here it says that in truth, everything is unborn. Okay? This logic attempts to take us from the empirical level to the highest level of truth. That is when we come to the end of the inquiry, when we have to negate Ishvara and its body, which is nothing but the creation, the universe. Not only the self is unborn, everything is unborn. This logic attempts to take us from the empirical level of the higher to the highest level of truth by showing us the absurdity on which the common sense view of reality is based. We give reality to those shifting, ever-changing objects. We say it's real, it existed, and it was created. But since everything resolves itself as consciousness, into consciousness, as consciousness, because it's just an appearance. Therefore, we can tell that the world was never born. No, it's beginningless, such as Maya, such as consciousness itself. It's unborn. It means to say that this projection has no beginning and has no end. Oh, but this is strange. The scripture said before that there is an end for Maya. There is an end from the standpoint of the jiva who is being deluded by Maya. And then he puts an end to that delusion by the means of understanding one's fundamental true nature, independent nature. But from the standpoint of Maya Ishvara, this universe is eternal, it's unborn, beginningless. It's going to always keep in play this game of manifesting into physical elements and formation of the universe, and then shrinking back into potential, into seed, into the macrocosmic universe, which remains suspended until again it projects itself. So is the tree not always present in its seed? Yes. So therefore the tree is eternally present as the seed, sometimes sprouting and growing to become a tree, and sometimes as potential. So that is the conclusion. This logic attempts to take us from the empirical level to the highest level of truth by showing us the absurdity on which the common sense view of reality is based. Common sense tells us that we are individuals subject to time, which means that we suffer and enjoy the results of actions. That's our perception of reality. Oh, come on, I have to pay my bills. If I don't pay all my bills, I'm going to be, I was saying in United States, kicked out of the house, I forgot the term. Evicted. I'm going to be evicted after a month or two. So, how can you tell me that that eviction is not going to be real? You know, it feels real, I'm going to be homeless, and so on. So, common sense tells us that we individuals subject to time and karma action, which means that we suffer and enjoy the results of our actions. That's the common sense. And we are hammering on the fact that it's true to the jiva, and the jiva better conform its thoughts, emotions and actions to the field of action so that he can develop a purified mind. But now the scripture comes and say, hey, the ultimate truth is that that view of reality is false. Okay? In truth, there is no karma, there is no Ishvara, there is no field of action, there is no jiva. All there is you, consciousness. But what is the problem? I present this teaching at front. Is that the mind not being prepared to understand this statement, Tattvamasi. It's going to be empty-handed, the jiva is going to remain as a jiva. And he say, okay, I'm a jiva, but I believe that I'm a jiva with the knowledge that I am the totality. But a simple mental, theoretical belief does not resolve the problem. It has to be a direct knowledge, a realization of my fundamental nature. Therefore, actions, the empirical level of reality is very important that we do not deny it unless we are ready to deny it. You remember those teachings that came from Papaji, and then Gangaji integrated that, and then she made it her main teaching. It was like a call of the search. Call of the search. The search is the problem. Very nice teaching, very appealing. Everybody in the spiritual world is fed up with seeking and searching. And then she goes, hey, by the way, there's no question of any qualification. The only thing required is to call off the search, stop seeking. And then everybody opens a bottle of champagne. Yeah.
It creates a kind of relaxation.
Yeah. And then Balsika, Ramesh follow the same lines, you know. I mean, there is no doer. Just go home and enjoy, live your life, play with the stock, make love with your husband, wife, and because you are not the doer. I mean, look at the absurdity. He's telling the doer that knows himself to be the doer and acts and thinks as the doer, totally identified as the doer, tell the doer that he is not the doer. What help can that statement serve? There's no way it's going to serve. You have to tell the jiva that you are a jiva, and a jiva is a doer, enjoyer of fruits of one's actions. But fundamentally, your essential independent nature, identity, is not the doer. You are awareness, and you are actionless, and you are free. Awareness is not the doer. The jiva is the doer. So if, as long as you identify yourself as the jiva, as the doer, you better learn how to do proper actions for the sake of your spiritual development. The mind gets prepared to understand that the jiva is not really a jiva. So you have to give the teaching to the jiva and the teaching to the self when the self is almost ready to understand that I am free from the jiva. You see the difference? What is that? The logic attempts that it's based on this. Common sense tells us that we're individuals, but time itself is an impossibility, for it requires that something should come from nothing. It's for those who labor under the delusions of the common sense point of view, and who ask why those who are liberated still have bodies. And I'm on the right text verse? Yeah. Bodies, and that this verse addresses the question of whether the self is born and suffers in time or not. Not even the body in the absolute sense takes birth. It's just a reassembling of mud, the elements. Combination of the elements with the energies and this new ornaments of gold, new shapes of clay, and so on. Do they really burn? No. It's only gold. No? It's just a superimposition, it's a form that comes and goes. It's a upadi. So fundamental, nobody is born, not even the jiva. Not even the body in the absolute sense takes birth. The elements from which it is composed come together in a provisional arrangement. That's so nice, huh? I like this word, provisional, especially associated with arrangement of the elements. So we are a bag of elements that come together provisionally for a short period of time. How about that? Oh, it makes us happy, huh? Anybody depressed?
No.
It's like Shakespeare. We are such stuff as dreams are made of.
Yeah. So we are just a bag of bones and some liquids infused by life, by awareness. So in this construct that we believe to be ourselves, is no difference from our neighbor's construct. It's 5 elements and the 3 energies, programmed to go chase objects and get some satisfaction, and by and by gradually develop some knowledge, understanding of the field, how the game is to be played, if one wants to live a happy life and if one wants to be done with the game. So yeah, that's why we can say that there's no difference between us, we're just, as from the standpoint of jiva and from the standpoint of awareness that we already have established, but even from the standpoint of jiva, we are just mud, the elements shaping themselves on different names and forms. And then awareness gets identified, and a phenomenon called mind develops, and there we go, we have a sense of independent existence, separate from the totality, which is a frightening picture. Provisional arrangement. Then it's separate and goes back into the field. But nothing comes into being. Nothing is born. Very nice verse, huh? So next verse. And then we could think if everybody is just the elements and the 3 energies arranged somehow, assembled, arranged provisionally under the skin, we call a bag, or a sausage, as the meat tube that Ramji likes to mention so often, then why can't we say, okay, it's all body, so excuse me, I'm going to use your body today, You take my body, I take your body. No, I say we are all just the elements. Why not, huh?
Like a zip car.
Yeah. Let me just use your body. I mean, we are all one body. We're never born as just the elements. Let me use your bag today. You use my bag, and there we go. But it does not work that way somehow, because the phenomenon mind is a phenomenon of a subtle body, reflect consciousness producing the reflect awareness called the jiva, which is hooked up to a particular bag of bones and water. So that phenomenon mind depends on this body in order to be a knower and experiencer and enjoyer. That's the only instrument we have. It would be nice if we can just use other bodies, just for fun, for a change.
You're dreaming about the Osho days, aren't you?
Huh? No. I was actually, some other picture was coming to my mind about people who would like to develop, be so awakened that they have the power to enter people's minds and know everything what they think and do. It's very appealing kind of fantasy, you know.
Andrei is like that.
Huh?
Andrei is like that.
I noticed that.
Why not too? I was trying to read my thoughts.
You have to have a sensor though.
So I'm tempted to not say that, but on this teaching, some of these Vedanta teachings, they seem a little abstract and philosophical, and they don't kind of naturally wrap my head around them. But this particular one, there's another simple view of this, which is when you think about when the person was ever born. Well, the person was born, there is a baby that was born, and we're tempted to say that was the start. Clearly, you can see that the baby existed prior to that, as it was growing in the womb. So naturally, you kind of go back to, well, it's when the egg and the sperm come together. But in fact, there is no moment in time that was within Nitya that wasn't conditioned by a moment prior.
Yeah.
There is no possibility for any moment to be independent.
That's what I mean.
Of all
That's what the
those
scripture means.
prior to it.
Yeah.
And it's when you can see that clearly for a baby, any baby, you realize we are one of those babies.
Yeah.
And eventually that baby grows up and thinks, becomes president and thinks Muslims are the problem. There's just ignorance blooms for whatever reason it does. But essentially, you can think you're separate, but you can't actually be separate.
Yeah.
It's not one of those
It's all a function of this cause and effect system. And the baby itself was born out of the vasanas of the previous individual. So the vasanas, the causal body, cause the new life. We are just a system that keeps generating these apparent jivas. There are many different ways to analyze our experience, singularly or collectively, to understand that there is nothing personal about these jivas.
Somehow that mechanical vision of what's happening is helpful to me to be able to see that there's no possibility for independence within that.
Yeah, they're very nice. That's important to understand, That's what it means, understanding Ishvara, and then you just know that there is a higher principle operating, governing everyone's experience, and everything resolves into Ishvara, and Ishvara resolves itself into awareness. Very nice. Nothing is born. It's a very radical teaching, because now it's negating Ishvara and existence and so on. And it's sometimes it's difficult to make sense, because we are so conditioned to see to see reality in duality, in phenomena. Somebody raised.
Yeah, it was me again. Well, only one sentence.
Yeah.
But so, and in accordance to that, I'm tempted to say that all media is anupadi. So why
Yeah.
do we have to lose so much time? I mean, I'm talking to myself. Trying to understand the whole system when we can just shift the attention to awareness and just dismiss all the whole
Absolutely.
creation. I think it's much easier.
It's easier.
I start to get so fed up and say, "Oh God, who cares?" It's much easier.
This is the shortcut, and it's the easiest
I go
way.
for that.
And it's we all love shortcut. It's the easiest way is to just discriminate Satya from Mithya. But this discrimination, Satya from Mithya, is very subtle. And when we say that it's important to understand the whole system, it's because understanding the system, conforming one's minds to the laws governing the system, has an incredible purifying effect in the mind, which allows the mind to properly discriminate Satya from Mithya. It's all there is for it. The truth is that Mithya is just a game. And you have to just separate consciousness from Mithya. And if one has that subtlety of intellectual faculty, just keep doing that. And you do that in your daily experience. Anything that appears to you is Mithya.
I say that all the time.
Yeah, it's Mithya.
You are real.
I'm free, I'm free, I'm free, I'm the light, I'm the light, I'm free, I'm free, I'm free. See if that works. If it does not work after you try for a period of time, and then it's advisable that we go into Karma Yoga, Karma Dhamma Yoga, or meditation, or any other means to help to prepare the mind. Everybody's tempted to go the direct path. Most of the teachers in the world, they are offering direct path or meditation, and very few people understand that you need to really enter into the suburbs of ignorance to understand how they came about, the slums or howsoever.
It took me already 6 years, so I'm at the point when I say I'm fed up.
Yeah, that's good. It's good to be fed up with Mithya. But you have to be very honest, sincere. If the Satya Mithya discrimination does not produce the results, and then some people at that point say the thing, I don't care, because anyhow, I don't exist, nothing is real. I'm suffering, but my suffering is not real. That's a valid statement. I don't care. I'm suffering, but my suffering is not real. So what is the point of self-realization, self-knowledge, self-inquiry, is to remove suffering. It's only for the jiva. If the jiva says, I don't get a damn, I'm good with suffering, and then, okay, you don't need Vedanta, you don't need the scriptures, you don't need self-inquiry, you don't need spirituality, you don't need meditation. You are good to go with suffering. Vedanta is just a means for those people that do not like suffering. So if you see that the Satya Mithya, the ultimate teaching, does not remove suffering, one has two options to say, no, I don't care, I have the knowledge, and then you can deny your suffering, or say, no, I like suffering. You're going to say something?
It is from my understanding that as long as there is a effort of discerning Mithya from Satya, there's still a doer in Jiva.
Yeah.
So this is therefore a provisional act, because how can I discern myself?
Of course, the whole process of spiritual evolution occurs in Mithya, and that's where people get caught up. Oh, it's all Mithya. People write to me again and again when I talk about Karma Yoga. They say, what are you talking about? This is all Mithya, it's not real. There is no such a thing as the spiritual development. And then I say, oh my God, one of those. And then I have to explain the base of Karma Yoga. And then weeks until that person understands. And then another bag of bones come and they ask me the same question. I'm becoming smarter now. I'm saving those topics. And then I copy and paste and then I send. Otherwise... Yeah, you have to do that. Ramji, I think he does that. Otherwise, you're going to keep rewriting the same answers over and over. Everybody's tempted to deny the jiva and mithya altogether and say, what? Spiritual work? Sadhana? Discipline? Discrimination? This is not real. I say, okay, good luck. It's true, it's not real.
Asanas are real.
Shall we go on? Or we want to? Verse 99, is that so? Because the body is superimposed on the self, it is not independent. How can a superimposition be born and how can it die? How can something that is unreal produce effects? So the body, this identification cannot produce any effect on the self, but it produces an effect on the reflection of the self. This reflection of the self, the effect of an identification with the body produces an effect, and this effect is called suffering, fear, concern, affliction, worries, and so on. Psychological suffering. Recall that superimposition is adhyasa. It's a confusion between the real with the unreal with the real. So we mix it up or we project to superimpose. The ordinary point of view is that the body is real and consciousness is a function of the brain. Oh, what a pity. Sylvia's not here. I think she got a little bit offended when I told her that there is no, the mind is not a function of the brain, but this would be good for her. The ordinary point of view is that the body is real and consciousness is a function of the brain. But both the body and brain are merely ideas of which we are intermittently aware. The body and the brain are just objects appearing to me, consciousness. I'm aware of body. I'm aware its thoughts, its discriminations, its feelings, and so on. So I'm something other than any mental function, emotional, and the body, physical body. Body and brain are merely objects, ideas of which I'm aware. They have no existence outside of awareness. Everything is dependable on awareness, and I am that. I'm that principle that gives life and sentience and consciousness to objects. They have no existence outside of myself, awareness. To believe otherwise is to confuse the truth with a wrong notion, a false understanding. False understanding again is I am the body-mind. I'm mixing up, I'm confusing myself with the mind, which is the reflection of myself on a subtle body. Subtle body is a mirror-like material. So I'm confusing my reflection, myself with my reflection. A superimposition is a false understanding. It is, so to speak, unreal. Although even superimpositions are only possible because of the reality of the self. How can you superimpose something without the background of awareness on which things are superimposed? There is no confusion that is independent of awareness. There is no projection or superimposition independent from awareness. Awareness is the only independent substratum, principle, always ever present. And that's what we are. There is nothing that happens in the phenomenal world called mithya that escapes consciousness, me. Consciousness is capturing everything in the form of this human body, appearing to have a body, all other body, and all creatures that Ishvara has put together. They have construct all these creatures to perceive the environment, the jivas. So there's nothing that happens that escapes consciousness in any case. Consciousness is ever always present. Nothing escapes awareness. Any superimposition or confusion is dependable on awareness. Superimposition is unreal, although even superimpositions are only possible because of the reality of the self, of the awareness in which these superimpositions appear. Language in Vedanta invariably leads to paradox, for we are using a dualistic medium to approach non-duality, so that's the limitation of language. That's why we keep trying to create some pointers or metaphors or analogies, and also clarify, resolving those contradictions, apparent contradictions, by find implied meanings, like we have gone through the mantra Tattvamasi. We had to go through the implied meanings, the ways to negate the apparent contradiction till we could equate you with that. Then we say, okay, now what do you mean? You is equal to that in your fundamental essential nature. Language in Vedanta invariably leads to paradox, for we are using a dualistic medium to approach non-duality. If superimposition is an appearance in awareness, it has no existence independent of awareness. It cannot be born because awareness is now born. Anything appearing in space resolves itself into space, and the space is always ever present in analogy. So, new buildings are going to come into construction. You go and you look at those Roman buildings, they go back thousands of years. And they come into play, they occupy space, and then they destroy, and then others come, and so on. So there is a factor which is unchanging, which in analogy is the space. Yeah? Names and forms come and they're destroyed, and then the space is always there. So is the nature of what we are, awareness. Everything comes and goes within the scope of our being, that which we are. If superimposition is an appearance in awareness, it has no existence independent of awareness. It cannot be born because awareness is not born, nor it can die because awareness does not have any death to it. And as there is only awareness in one without a second, in whom or in what can superimposition produce a real effect? The text is hammering home in every possible way the implications of non-duality, so that every possible doubt is resolved. We're just hammering from different angles, different logics, all based on our own observation, experience. We follow the logic and say, oh, yeah, it makes sense, How can something that comes and goes be what I am, if I am the space that never changes, it's always present, never born, not bound by time as awareness. Verse 100. Okay, the last verse. The infallible words. No, verse 100. The scripture speaks of karma from the empirical standpoint to satisfy the curiosity of some dull-witted people. I don't like this. It's too offensive, huh, James?
Yeah, it could be removed.
Could be removed, yeah. The scripture speaks of karma from the empirical standpoint to satisfy the curiosity of someone who is still doing its work. I'm still new to Vedanta. Who want to know why the body remains in the awake of self-knowledge. It's hammering on that. We're talking about two different orders of reality. And what happens here remains here, what happens there remains there. There, by the way, nothing happens there, but what happens here belongs to here. Cannot be superimposed into awareness. Like James likes to offer that analogy, what happens in Vegas remains in Vegas. If you know what it means, when they go to Las Vegas, they go wild. They do things that they don't want people to know in their hometowns. They drink too much and they enjoy too much and so on. I say, let's keep it in Las Vegas, and people, they say, no, it remains here. It never goes back to your home. So what happens is that karma and the empirical reality of the world, media, the universe, is just to satisfy, it's a provisional assertment to satisfy the minds of all of us. There is something governing this universe, and this is karma, and I need to know how to play the game, because moreover I want to be happy. And in the process of being happy, I'm developing a contemplative mind. And I have read in picture that my goal is moksha. So let's not deny altogether the empirical reality of the universe and the laws governing this world, such as karma. But the scripture speaks of karma and all these laws to satisfy the curiosity. Who are people who want to know why the body remains in the awakening of self-knowledge. The body remains, as we have established already, because the body belongs to the field. And the Ishvara controls the field. The individual who knows the truth knows that Ishvara is just unfolding whatsoever karma is in the pipeline of one's personal account. We are even going into more delusion here. Personal account of the individual soul. The individual soul has a personal karmic account. Ishvara makes no mistake. It does not give karma of someone to somebody else, because it's designed by pure knowledge intelligence. The doubt may arise, if there is no karma for the liberate, why does the scripture describe it as thought it were real? The karma is real. Recall that in the verse 95 and 96, we will offer an explanation of what is called Parabhida karma. When we are liberate, we are told that karma, which has already been set in motion, must complete its motion, must fructify, like the arrow, release it. It has to go its course. But no sooner does the text make this statement than it apparently contradicts it, claiming that there is no karma for the liberate. How can this double
face contradiction?
Yeah, how can this contradiction be reconciled? Is it a common expression, about face?
Yeah. Turn around, about face.
Oh, never heard. How can this about face be reconciled? In the present verse, we are told that the previous explanation was offered for the sake of the dual-witted, the one who did not understand yet. This is not an elitist expression of concept, but rather an acknowledgement that reality can be viewed from the empirical level at which independent objects seem to exist. The teaching takes our hand at this level, the empirical level, the dualistic apparent reality we call media, takes our hand at this level and leads us higher into the realization of our nature as Mithya.
Satya.
Huh? As Satya. That's the beauty of Vedanta. Vedanta does not deny reality here, but it's just accept provisionally reality of karma, jiva, ishvara, the field, and so on, provisionally, so that one can work out its way out, so to speak, in one's understanding, until one can negate reality to Mithya and establish oneself as Satya. But we need to go into Mithya. And we have to resolve those apparent contradictions. In the present verse, we are told that the previous explanation was offered for the sake of that. This is not an elitist expression of content, but rather an acknowledgement that reality can be viewed from the empirical level at which independent objects seem to exist. They all depend on awareness, they are all superimposition of awareness, but we have to go there and accept them provisionally. The teaching takes our hand at this level and leads us higher. Vedanta uses a teaching method called Adhyaropa Apavada. How can you repeat that?
Adhyaropa Apavada.
No, I thought that when I had it. Yeah. Apavada. I like more I don't know if it translates to that. I did not look at that. It's a simple, very brilliant, simple method that we use in Vedanta, which is projection and negation and progression. We negate the reality to something and we disclose it as a superimposition, negation, superimposition, negation, superimposition. We keep negating phenomena. There is superimpositions of awareness until we have negated everything, and then we resolve everything in awareness as awareness. So the Vedanta uses a teaching method called Adhyaropa Apavada in answer to a doubt or object and is giving provision. Now this is the method presented by Vedanta, which follows as a dialogue between a questioner, opposer, and the answerer, the teacher. This is the method that it refers here. All the time, question and answer, and oh, excuse me, but I want to oppose you again, Just like nicely we have been doing here, like David has been doing here as well. An answer to a doubt or objection is given provisionally in a manner suited to the inquirer's present capacity to understand. So Vedanta presents the question, the doubt, and then resolves, and then presents again, resolves, appearing as the dialogue as the student. When that understanding progresses to a subtler level, the previous answer can be negated. So nicely, huh? We keep creating the doubt, which is a doubt that already lives in the mind of everyone. It brings to light the doubt, the apparent confusion, contradiction, and then resolves, and then keeping doing that. And then it can negate the previous solution, because the previous answer or solution was provisional again. Because it's all in Mithya. Yeah? It's not the absolute truth. Right? It's a temporary solution. What is it?
When the understanding.
Huh?
When the understanding. When the understanding.
Okay, give him a moment. Okay. When the understanding progresses to a subtler level, the previous answer can be negated. In the same manner, we tell children stories designed to satisfy them and to calm them down. That's a very nice analogy. We tell things, oh no, don't worry, it's this and this and that. And then the child grows a little bit, he has a better intellect, and then you can give a better answer, more sophisticated answer. And then the child is a teenager satisfied, and then he's going to need a better answer, better answer. The intention is not to deceive the student, but merely to hold the full and factual explanation in reserve until the time when the child has matured sufficient to receive it. There we go, so beautifully put. You know? It's not to deceive or mislead anybody. It just goes through those levels of understanding until the mind is prepared for the ultimate truth, the naked truth. The mind is sufficiently mature to receive it. From the highest standpoint of truth, karma is seen as a provisional explanation that satisfies the curiosity that arises at the empirical level. But once we know that only the self exists, there is no karma, because there is no body, there is no actor, there is no doer, there is no time, there is no mithya. All of these seemingly disparate things that are integral to the concept of karma only appear to exist here, in the empirical level, the level of our own experience based on our perception and inference. Karma is like the snake in the rope. It has no existence independent of its substratum, awareness, the self. None of this has any substance apart from awareness. Because without awareness, none of this can stand. The whole projection, superimposition, is dependable on awareness, because awareness is the substrate that holds it together for a short time. So now, no karma, nothing exists without awareness. No actor, no doer, no time. All of these seemingly disparate things that are integral to the concept of karma only appear to exist at the empirical level. Karma is like the snake in the rope. It has no existence independent of awareness, which is the substratum, the self. But as long as we believe the rope to be a snake, as long as we see duality as reality, as long as we're still deceived by Maya, we cannot deny Maya and Mithya altogether. We need to work our way through Mithya by understanding its functioning, the system, its laws, and so on. So it's provisional, but it's a must. Without that, the mind is not going to be able to hold the final, most fundamental truth, which is that there is only awareness. But as long as we believe the rope to be a snake, that is, we superimpose the body-mind upon the self, the teaching must address our ignorance, our confusion, at the level at which it occurs. That is the incredible compassion of these teachings, you know. It has to go where the problem is and begin there resolving. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to help people. You know, I talk from direct first-hand experience, to help people to go through all that confusion again and again. But this is compassion. This is the Lord revealing the knowledge to everybody who is still confusing that which is unborn with objects which are time-bound.
But the Lord is also the one who made it so confusing.
Yeah, because he was a bit drunk. I told you that story, huh? He drank some beer when he was assembling the human jivas, and then he extrovert the minds of every jiva. He put all the sense organs extrovert towards object, and forgot to create one sense organ that one could see. Awareness, the gods. Oh, this is my true nature, the source of my life. I have this sense organ, that the sense organ allows me to know my true nature. My identity is awareness, God, so on. He forgot, he made that mistake. That's why he revealed the scripture. This is the third eye. Karma is a transitional concept. It no longer concerns the liberated, although they too may seem to be subject to karma in the observation of who still thinks the body-mind is an independent existing entity. It is for the sake of those laboring under this confusion that the topic of karma for the liberated is addressed in this text. It's a nice topic to make it more clear to us that we are talking about two orders of reality, of the one reality, and we cannot superimpose Satya and Mithya, and neither Mithya and Satya. We have to keep them and work our way through Mithya so that we can gain and retain this vision, this understanding, this direct knowledge. It has to be retained as well. It's not enough to gain it. And in regards to your question, you said something that all this mess, this ignorance, this confusion was a product of Maya, right? And that's the best answer Ranjit has for that question. He says, Maya seems to be a pervert. Yeah, so meaning to say nobody knows. We can joke about that. We can say that he was drunk, he was a pervert or whatever, but we don't know why Maya projects this apparent universe in which this self-conscious objects are totally ignorant of their own nature, and all other beings are ignorant as well. All other cockroaches and insects, elephants, everybody is ignorant of their true nature. But it's not a problem to them. It's only a problem from the standpoint of the human jivas. Because we are not being operated only by ignorance. We are being operated by knowledge and ignorance. We have a little bit of both. And then if you don't have knowledge, you cannot bring into question ignorance. Ignorance stands against knowledge. We have a bit of knowledge and ignorance, therefore we suffer because we want to be happy. We have free will and so on, and we need to have our mind cleared, do good karma yoga to be a happy jiva, and then we can somehow transcend the jiva, understanding our true fundamental nature. Okay, so we close the 100. I think we are going to be good to conclude the text. This last verse is very nice. You still have a question?
Yeah, I don't see, to add on to the conversation, it's not that maybe it's a joke that Ishwar is a P, but the way I look at it is that before gravity was discovered, it doesn't mean that it didn't exist. So same with ignorance. Ignorance is innocent by itself, but it's only when it's discovered that we can do something about it. Similarly with gravity, Ishwara is just producing gravity because that's what it does. But then until the knowledge of gravity comes, then from the standpoint of the jiva, the one who has discovered, can he or she do something about it?
Ignorance is just absence of knowledge. In the case of all other creatures, they don't have any problem because they don't have knowledge. They are just being governed, programmed, acting out from ignorance. Okay? So we have a little bit of ignorance and knowledge, and therefore it becomes a problem for us. Knowledge cannot exist without the background of ignorance, and ignorance cannot exist without knowledge. So we have both, so we need to develop knowledge, because knowledge is what frees us from suffering. Suffering is a no apprehension of the field as jiva. Suffering comes by not being able to respond properly to the field. We are being driven by ignorance, we have these vasanas, we don't know how to respond appropriately, and then we suffer. So we are being driven by a little bit of knowledge, but a lot of ignorance. Okay, let's do it. Sadashiva Samarambam Shankarya Sharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Visvaro Gurate Beti Mochi Beda Vibhagine Yomavat Bhaktapatirayam Dakshinamurti Namaha Savavedanta Siddhanta Gocharantam Agocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satiguru Pranatoshmaham Om Shanti. Thank you, Ishvara, Shankara, Dayananda, and all the rishis